Welcome, everybody. We seem to have a large number of people signed up already, but a few more may join us in the opening minutes, but conscious you guys have been waiting. So thanks for holding firm. To this Come Work With Us event, we have Michael Klokos and Mike Benson from Chalkboard, who will introduce themselves in a moment. I can tell you a little bit about the company first, and they can tell you a bit more as to where they're at right now. We'll have about sort of half an hour or so of questions, and then a chance for you guys to join in as well. Just putting hands up or something similar to suggest when you're wanting to ask a question, and then we'll unmute yourself and we'll fire away. And then after that, I think there'll be some breakout times for you guys as well. So the actual interview part, the first sort of 45 minutes or so, and then some time to network after that. So Chalkboard, company formed in 2013. Last year, chosen for the Indie Accelerator Scheme to boost sort of small and medium-sized indies in the nations. They started out very much in the factual and to some extent entertainment space, and recently, or in the last couple of years, have moved into drama, which they can talk about. And I think that's sort of definitely connected to the funding boost that they've had. Some of the shows they've had, some daytime shows, Murder Mystery in My Family for BBC One, Mend It for Money for Channel 4, and then also some other formats including ITV quiz show Don't Ask Me Britain with Alexander Armstrong, Logan High, a semi-constructed reality show, school show for CBBC and iPlayer, and Babies 24/7, the maternity ward for 5 Star. The first fruits of their drama division was the very successful Cold Call on Channel 5, part of Channel 5's new wave of dramas, which they can talk about, how that develops and where they take things from there. So we have Mike Benson, who's managing director, and Michael Klokos is head of production. Mike, if I could just turn to you first to perhaps just introduce and outline the company, how it forms, your background, and what have your sort of ambitions and mission statement for the company been to date?
So we started, as you said, in 2013. My background was kind of non-scripted, so factual entertainment. I worked at Shine Group for a few years, working with all the different Shine companies. I've been at the BBC on and off. And when we started Chalkboard, it was with a view to focusing on non-scripted, both kind of documentary, factual entertainment, and entertainment. And so, we pushed that for a few years and made various shows. And then in the last few years, we kind of always wanted to see if we could find an organic way into scripted. And, we were lucky to be in the right place at the right time with Channel 5. And so the last couple of years, scripted has become a bigger part of what we do. But obviously the part of that is we were spread quite thin. So we just launched a few months ago a company called Chalkboard, which is basically Chalkboard but for scripted. And so we do a mix where between Chalkboard and Chalkboard we do every genre, which I know a lot of companies kind of specialize, and obviously there's an argument for that. But for us, we enjoy making a range of different shows, and that's kind of worked for us kind of so far. And I guess, in terms of the ethos of the show, I mean, of the company, we like to think that, we're a fun place to work. I mean, to be honest, the main ethos is to make TV shows and have fun making it, whether it's a drama or whether it's a documentary. We obviously all want to be fairly paid and make sure all our staff are fairly paid. But, most people working in TV just want to tell stories, and that's what we want to do. And also work with nice people. I know everybody kind of says that, but we try and work with nice people who don't shout and don't, and don't kind of go overboard with people. And so that we have the same freelancers coming back and working for us again and again. And, we've built over the years a really nice family of freelancers who come back and again, but also progress with us. So progress through the ranks, whether that's starting as a researcher, ending up as a series producer. We kind of very firmly believe, if you show you've got the skills to do that job, you can be doing that job. We're not going to have you waiting years and years to make that promotion. But also I think uniquely for us, we like to help people progress between genres as well, because we've progressed between genres. And, I think there's a bit of this false wall in TV that, you can't move from non-scripted to scripted as a company or as a producer. And you can. I think you can, and we've had a lot of our staff who have moved from non-scripted to scripted, and vice versa as well. So, obviously it depends on what your ambition is, but I like to think that's what's quite unique about us, because we do the different genres.
Yeah. We can come back to some of that in a second. Let me just bring Michael in here. Michael, tell us about your role as head of production. To what extent do you oversee the whole slate or areas of the slate, and sort of work with a team?
So yeah, I mean, my background is originally kind of non-scripted, very similar to Mike. I've spent a lot of time kind of working on like the big entertainment reality shows. That's kind of my bread and butter originally, I think. And since being with Mike at Chalkboard, obviously because we do a variety of different genres, it's been quite interesting, because obviously there's a lot more focus on drama and quiz shows and documentaries. So actually, in terms of what I do, my job's quite varied actually, which is great fun, because from one moment you're looking at something which is the non-scripted kind of reality or quiz show thing that I'm kind of used to doing, against obviously now these dramas, which as Mike was touching on, people say are very different, but also they're actually really similar when you kind of look at it. And what's really interesting is just looking at how certain job roles may have a different title, but actually you're doing the same thing. Or some people may have the same job role in scripted and non-scripted, but actually you're doing completely different jobs. And it's kind of working through and looking at that. But in terms of the way I work, I mean, I've got a team of production managers that work on our productions, and we have support obviously to help us at the moment. I mean, we're a relatively small company, we're growing, so obviously the support there is growing as well. But it's working with people that can help me and help Mike obviously kind of move forward. So yeah, I'm across everything, scripted and non-scripted, just as Mike is.
Okay, well, let's cast your minds back. What was the first commission out of the doors, and can you remember about the pitch of going in as a newish company, a new smallish company, I suppose, to the broadcaster and selling it? And what did that piece of business do for you?
Yeah, it was really, really important. I think, you become, as a new company, you become more commissionable by being commissioned. It's amazing, what that does for everybody's confidence, and it makes it slightly easier to get commissions there on in, which shouldn't be the case, but it is the case. I think we got 2 commissions. I think we were going for about 6 months, and we got 2 commissions around simultaneously. And the first one was a really, probably the show I'm probably most proud of, and it was myself and Warwick Banks who ran Chalkboard with me and Ben in the early days. It was a thing called My Wonderful Life. And it basically, we made it for Sky One. It was a show that we made over 3.5 years, or maybe 4 years. And it was basically following people with terminal illnesses, leaving messages and gifts and surprises for people to be delivered after they passed away. And which you can imagine, is a very sensitive program to make, and you're liaising with people that are very emotional and sensitive, the most sensitive time of their life. So we did it very much hand in hand with different charities and organizations. And we did it for the long haul. So obviously, we're in the weird position of, to make the show, we're waiting for people who are very ill to very sadly pass away. So it was quite a surreal and sensitive show to make, but the finished result was really powerful. We were really proud of it, and I think all the families, the main thing they came out of it saying, actually, that was a really positive thing for us. So we got My Wonderful Life commissioned, pretty early on, and then simultaneously we did this ITV2 Christmas show called The Office Christmas Party that was kind of following offices in the lead up to their Christmas party. So tonally, quite different shows, although My Wonderful Life was warm, funny, uplifting, unexpected. And I think that especially set a template for us, certainly in the early years of Chalkboard. And even now, we'd like to think that we can handle sensitive access documentary. We do a lot of stuff in prisons. We do Murder Mystery in My Family, which is very, very sensitive. So, whether it's a factual format or a documentary, we do a lot of sensitive access. And that was started from My Wonderful Life.
Yeah, a challenging show that I imagine could demonstrate to, future buyers of your ideas that you can deliver something long term, uncertain, and as I say, very sensitive. Is that a project that there's scope to do further series with, or do you view that as something that was it was about those families in its time?
Well, I mean, on the other side of it, the commission when it happened, Sky was a very different channel to to what it was when it went out. Sky for a while obviously weren't looking at factual, and so actually when it went out, Sky had moved strategically. The channel loved the finished tape so much that they kind of put it out, but I probably think it wasn't seen by as many people as as I would have hoped for the families for it to be seen. So we obviously explored it, but I think at that time as well, I think Channel 4 are doing one called Ghost, which is very, very similar in a concept. I think they're using holograms as part of it. So I think for us, I'd love to do more. It was such a powerful, rewarding show to make, and I think everybody was involved in it. Can be so proud of that. But it's a difficult ask to ask a commissioner to come on a journey with you for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It's such short term, which is understandable. So we definitely explored it, but I think for now we're proud of the show, but I think we've moved on.
So talk to me a little bit about the sort of boost you had last year with the Indie Accelerator. What does that provide, and what is it meant for you as a company?
It was fantastic. It was one of we weren't really sure whether we should do it or not, because I think the companies that invariably do it we were probably 6 or 7 years old then, and I think a lot of companies are a little bit newer than we were, but it was fantastic, really rewarding. I think some of the companies that go into it are looking for investment, and it's basically a nursery slope towards them securing investment, be that from a distributor or a third party. We weren't really in that position. We weren't necessarily looking for investment, but what it was more than anything was just a time out to look at what you're doing as a business, look at how you operate, look at what you want to do, what you're known for. I think TV is such a head down process, and you don't really share or talk to other MDs or other companies, or if you do it, everyone's at Edinburgh talking about how many commissions they've got, putting their best face on. So, but more than anything for me, it was like a self-help group for company MDs. Everybody was just like sharing, because it's bloody tough. It's tough as a company, it's tough as a freelancer, and sharing stories, and but also there were lots of masterclasses on how you do things, from securing investment, legals. But more than anything, we just got a fantastic network of indies of all different types that we correspond, we meet up, it's just kind of a friendship group. And I think that's a rare thing in TV. I didn't have that before, and we have that now. Whereas other companies, maybe it was more about investment, but I think all of us got something out of it. So it was a really positive thing.
Yeah, and as you say, it was 5 or 6 years into the company, and when you set up, what did you sort of have identified as a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan? Where do you sort of want to be by this stage? Is it hard to benchmark yourself against other companies doing different sorts of shows and changing fortunes and whims of the industry?
Yeah, like genuinely, this is probably the wrong answer to give, but the plan was to be able to run as a business and to be able to pay ourselves and carry on growing. More than that, certainly my plan was to be able to make TV shows we could be proud of, and obviously we have benchmarks of commissioning and financial projections that we want to hit. That's always finger in the air, no matter what you're doing as a company. You always have your stretch plan, your medium plan, and your kind of lower plan. So we wanted to carry on growing. We wanted to grow. When we started, we were told you have to be one genre, you have to specialize. And the truth is, if we'd have specialized at any point in Chalkboard, we'd probably be out of business. And so what we wanted to do is try and grow each of our genres, be known for being able to deliver quality within that genre, and just try to grow it organically. And, and so far it's, we've had kind of our ups and downs, but so far that seems to be working. If you deliver a quality show in a certain genre and you build that relationship with the commissioner, you're in that genre, I kind of feel. And so our plan was to build a sustainable business, but more than that, just make shows we can be proud of, to be honest.
And with moving into drama, at what point did you identify that as a possibility rather than just a desire? And how did you go about making that extra step? Because it is, I know there are transferable skills, but a lot of indies would find it's a different skill set to operate in that area.
Yeah, I think in the time that we were running Chalkboard, I think entertainment especially became a harder genre to get consistent and big commissions in. We made Don't Ask Me, Ask Brim, which is fantastic for us to make. But I think at that same time, I think entertainment was having a hard time within the channels, and there weren't as many opportunities in that. So I think it probably was simultaneously with that we started looking at drama. And obviously when I was at Shine, I kind of Kudos and, the various kind of drama companies they had, I knew a little bit of the genre, but I'd never worked directly in it or got commissions in it. And I think we were kind of lucky in terms of how we got into drama. We optioned a show from Holland called The First Years that was a school drama. It was like a Grange Hill style show, but rather than scripts, it was partly improvised. So they workshop with young school kids, actors, and then they devised short episodes around it. And it's a way of producing low-cost drama. And so we took that concept to the BBC, and it wasn't a leap for us because it's almost part of it. It's almost non-scripted. And they came on the journey with us. So we made Logan High, 2 series of it. We worked with new writers, worked with new talent. And so that gave us a foot to think, actually, it is possible. Let's see if we can take the next step. And at that time...
was that a fully funded BBC show?
Yes, it was funded.
So it was children's budgets.
Yeah, it was, which this is the thing about coming from non-scripted as well, not so much in Logan High, but the other things. Most drama, you look at budgets that are sub $1 million and go, oh, you can't make it for that. If you come from a non-scripted background and you look at even a low drama budget, you think, I can do something with that. It's kind of depends on the perspective you're coming from. And from Logan High, that's where we kind of got lucky, I think. Channel 5 at that time were looking to move back into drama, and they, fair play to Ben and Seb, they basically said, we don't care if you're a long in the tooth drama company or you're new to the genre. If we like the idea and we trust you guys to deliver it, we'll go for it. And so we pitched them in a concept called Cold Call that we've been working with a writer up in Scotland on, that was about a cold call business. And Channel 5 liked the idea in the area, but they asked us to make it feel more Dr. Foster, more domestic. And at that time, they were looking for something for Sally Lindsay as well, who's just such a fantastic actress, who wanted to do something more of a psychological thriller. So no other channel at that point would have commissioned us for a primetime drama series other than Channel 5. And they put a lot of faith in us, but they also knew that we'd kill ourselves to make it good. It was such a big deal for us. And we built a really good relationship with them, and one that continues, and we're doing more for them. But it was very much kind of down to them backing us as a new company. We didn't even have a script. So we had a treatment and we had no scripts, and they fully commissioned it based on that. No other channel will ever commission anything that doesn't have a script. So they move fast, Channel 5, they do things differently, and that suited us because we're young in the genre.
And was it the kind of the scale of the drama, or what other aspects would sort of help to keep the costs down on that? Because there are baselines with dramas, inevitably. Actors need paying, and it's a different pay scale to contributors to a documentary or anything else. Mm-hmm. So how do you, without going through every budget line, how do you sort of approach a drama on a far reduced budget compared to a lot of other dramas that are made?
Do you want to answer that, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike's already touched on it. It's more looking at this through the eyes of a non-scripted producer. We look at something and we go, well, doing this, for example, doesn't cost as much when we do it on a documentary where you've got 300 quid for a location or something like that. I think the key thing was throughout all of that was basically just taking a look and analysing everything that you do. Most dramas have 3 accountants on them. We don't feel we need that, especially with a lower cost drama. So there's lots of elements like that. I think the other thing as well is obviously looking at the staff that you bring in, making sure that you've got people that are hungry and buy into what you're trying to create for obviously the money that you've got. Now, that doesn't mean underpaying people, because that's not obviously what we want to do at all, and that's not what we do. But it does mean actually giving people that are looking for that step up but can't necessarily make it, giving them that opportunity. you know, because obviously with the different scale and pay bands, you can kind of look at new talent and bring people in as one way, and also just fundamentally the way you schedule these things. You know, I mean, we don't need as big a crew. I mean, and actually with a smaller crew, you're more nimble, so you can go to more locations. So actually, you end up, funnily enough, with less resource, being more creative about how you end up using it, and that ends up translating on screen as well. So it's a combination of a number of factors, and looking at certain things, as you say, the cast, the writers, and everything else. There are certain things you need to pay, and also certain minimums and things you need to pay everybody in it for everything. But it's just looking at the quantity of that you actually need on the ground, you know, because, you know, looking at it from a non-scripted perspective in terms of that budget, you look at it and you think, oh, there's a lot of wastage in here. You don't need 5 art directors. You could do with 3 perhaps, or, you know, so it's that kind of mentality and looking at it in that way, and not getting stuck in the trap of this is the way it's always done, so that's how we're going to do it. I think the key thing in the way that we work is actually just looking at everything and trying to find a more efficient way of producing, generally, whether it's scripted or non-scripted actually, but certainly with scripted, we found ways of saving on the budgets, and we made that for $500,000 an episode, which for drama is not a lot of money.
Yeah.
So,
what impact do you think Channel 5's strategy on this will have? Will it have any impact more broadly, or do you think this will be their USP in terms of dramas compared to more established drama producers, drama broadcasters? You know, will we see other mixed economy models from the other broadcasters? Do you think there's any kind of appetite for the kind of stuff Channel 5 is doing, or will this be their niche?
No, I think like all the channels. I mean, Channel 5 now, they're ambitious. You know, I think they've shown that this model can work, but I think they're also ambitious to try and produce shows at different budget levels, of different types, and keep on reframing what Channel 5 is known for. You know, it's been so exciting going on a journey with Channel 5. I often think they're almost like an indie themselves. There's a small team, they're all invested in it, they're all involved in it in the best way, and so I think they'll keep on surprising you. I think the other broadcasters will take a look at what's going on with Channel 5 dramas and think we need a bit of that, you know. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you see that model, and you know, it is doable, but it's not easy, and there's no fat, and everyone has to buy into what you're trying to do, but it is possible. And I think before that, everyone was $1 million plus because you wanted to access the tax credit in the UK. And I think this budget line between 500 and 700, you'll see more and more dramas produced at that level across all the channels. You know, would be my prediction.
Okay. And so you've now set up Chalkboard to focus on the drama. Is there a core team there? Are you looking to build a team there? How established is that now?
Yeah, so we've got a core team. We're just producing our first show under Chalkboard at the minute over in Ireland, and we'll be producing a couple more at the start of next year. We have a core team of producers and line producers who are underpinning that, but we're going to be looking to bring people in to help us, both in Chalkboard and in Chalkboard, because I think myself and Michael are spread a bit thin between them. So we are going to be looking for people to help us with that. So yeah, I think, you know, it was important that we got Chalkboard set up, and we set it up with a commission to run with. And I think now we want to kind of underpin that with hiring some fantastic people. And I think more than anything, we're looking for young, hungry people who've got, you know, that it's an opportunity for, you know, because that's what's worked for us as a company, as individuals. And so I think that's our first kind of port of call. So yeah, we are looking for people, and we're looking to grow. And also, I think eventually we're making a lot of stuff for Channel 5, which is fantastic. You know, we might explore growing with some of the other channels as well. But at the minute, you know, Channel 5's doing really well for us, and hopefully, you know, us for them. So we're kind of building on that.
Yeah. Where do you source freelance? What's your kind of strategy for bringing people in, and how do they approach you? I mean, Talent Manager is obviously where we're talking from tonight, and I hope you're making good use there. But across the UK, there's a talent pool who may want to work with you. How do you invite approaches?
So, I mean, I think this is true of most companies. Actually, I think it's a variety of different sources where you find new talent to kind of work with. I mean, obviously, we work with people, and we like to keep working with the people that want to come back as well, which so far has been most of them. But also in terms of growth as well, that's something that we look at, and it is about giving people within the company the opportunity. So, that's kind of one side of it. Obviously, talent managers are a great resource, and we can have a look and go through there. But I think everybody knows about the Facebook groups, and you put things out, and things come through with that. I think it depends on the role that you're looking for. I think some of our more senior roles that we're going to be looking for in the short term are obviously going to be through something like talent manager, or through some other avenues. But when you're looking to corrupt productions and you need an AP to start on Monday, then obviously, again, talent manager is really helpful, but so are the Facebook groups, and a lot of word of mouth, and just working with people that you've worked with before, or people that they recommend, and actually just keeping an open mind on everybody. And I think one key thing actually with this, and I've noticed it quite a lot with CVs from different parts of the UK, actually, is that you may be looking for somebody who's got quite an eclectic CV. They've got quite a lot of experience in different types of jobs. Is actually, we don't discount that. You look at it to kind of see what you can do. So, I know there's a lot of producers that are very traditional in the way that I have to see at least 4 or 5 credits at a certain level. We don't do that. I think it's more about the person that you're talking to and interviewing at the time, and then taking it from there. But generally, in answer to your question, everywhere. There's no limit really to finding people from.
I think also the other important thing is everywhere in terms of locations. So we've got a sister company, Storyboard, run by Natalie Humphries, based up in Scotland. We co-produce with them, but also we produce all over the country, and we work with producers, directors based all over the country. So our main producer we work with in Chalkboard lives in Leeds. We're never going to say you have to move down to London or move up to Scotland. It works because obviously when you're on location filming a drama, you're on location. So I think we're very flexible in terms of where you come from. I think we're really kind of passionate about that. I mean, I'm originally from Bradford, and I remember kind of growing up, like I didn't even know how the hell do you even begin to get into kind of TV. And I think if we can help drive that by hiring people from other locations, then we will do that as much as we'll hire someone in London. So I think that's a big thing that's important to us. It doesn't matter where you are, there are opportunities there.
Right. It's still really good and really constructive. I don't want to do anything negative, but is there anything you point to as being a challenge for the company, or a particularly low time you picked yourselves up from? And anything you're looking for help with, growing a certain part of the business or anything like that?
I mean, to answer your question, it's always challenging, and there are always hard times. We've had times where you're looking at your cash flow because you need desperately to get a commission, and then there are other times where it feels a lot more comfortable. So I never feel like it's so rosy, and I never feel like it's so awful. It's the truth is always somewhere in the middle. I think for us, the thing that you need really as an indie is returning series, because I think a lot of time when you're just doing first run series, by the time you've figured out how to make the show, it's kind of over, so it's those returning series that I think, are a big thing for us. And there've been times where we haven't been getting those. And there've been times when we have things like Murder Mystery in My Family, we're doing our 5th series of it. And so I think that's the hardest thing, the ebb and flow of kind of commissions, and trying to strategize and grow within that. I think also, there've been times where we've been stretched far too thin. And I think that's what we're trying to address now. I think, when you're execing too many different shows, you don't do any of them as well as you perhaps should do. And I think now we're trying to, hopefully we're growing from being a small company to medium-sized company, if all goes to plan in the next year. And I think we need to kind of restructure and readjust to try and keep growing and keep doing what we're doing. So it's always challenging. Like it's just different challenges at different stages. So yeah, we'll just keep on swinging.
And talking of challenges, I mean, how specifically were you affected by lockdown? Were you mid-production on a number of things when all that struck, and how have you picked up the pieces on those?
Yeah, so we were mid filming Murder Mystery and My Family, which obviously grind to a halt. I think especially a lot of our contributors on that actually fell into the high risk category as well. So it was a very early decision to kind of put a stop to that production. And we had a few other bits and pieces that we were due to start, and I think we've been quite lucky in the fact that actually we've not really lost any commissions. We've actually managed to reschedule them. So 2021 is actually looking quite positive because everything has obviously been shifted along. So again, with Murder Mystery, that started up now, and even with the way restrictions are, we've managed to get that all in the can and that's shot. So the way we work has changed. You know, there's a lot more kind of remote editing, and obviously remote things like this, you know, everybody's working from home, but I think everybody's gotten used to it. I mean, in terms of the productions we had, yes, that stopped. We did have one drama series that we were due to start filming on, I think, the Monday after Boris's first lockdown speech. So I think 3 days before, we had a crew of about 70 people flying to Malta. That got canned. But again, it's just dealing with it as it kind of comes, you know, and picking up the pieces and putting it all down. It's all been rescheduled. It's all going to happen, and it's just in that interim period is just, as a company, we kind of, as a lot of people did, just had to look at what we were doing, you know, because obviously without any profits coming through, we had to look at furloughing staff, and we did that for everybody that was eligible to be furloughed, you know, and then actually bringing them all back onto production and running through. So for us, we didn't lose any business. Obviously, it was just a matter of obviously managing how we got through those months.
Yeah. Okay. And because of where you are now, we've talked about the different genres, and I know you don't necessarily think of them as totally separate in terms of who works on them and what skills you want, but do you have an idea of with the company's time and attention on these different projects, you know, are you kind of spinning the plates in all these genres at once? What sort of proportion might drama be of your business in the next couple of years, all things being well with restrictions on filming? Give us a sense of how that balance could look in the next couple of years.
I think with drama, I think we want it to balance out. You know, we want to have, you know, people working with us that can keep Chalkboard ticking along and keep Chalkboard kind of ticking along. I think certainly in the short term at the minute, we've got a lot of drama opportunities and things that we're going to be making in 2021. And with Chalkboard, we've got a few series going on. I think obviously in drama, the budgets are a little bit higher. You know, you might have the same kind of turnover in Clapperboard with 2 or 3 series that you would in 6 or 7 in terms of Chalkboard. But, you know, I kind of feel, you know, a lot of time when you're running an indie, it's just people knowing who you are. And the first few years were just a battle to kind of people to know who Chalkboard are and know some of our shows. And I feel like we've got that to that stage now with Chalkboard. People seem to know who we are. We've got a great family of freelancers. And so I want that to keep growing. And hopefully for Clapperboard to go on a similar journey where it has a good reputation, people enjoy working there, and people want to keep coming back. So I wouldn't say we're going to focus on drama over non-scripted. We want it to feel equal, but we need to hire people to underpin that, and most importantly, get the commissions. The commissions are what drive everything.
Sure, but I suppose not specialising in one genre is great because it makes you very flexible and open to all sorts of ideas. Does it make it hard for people to sort of pitch what they think of as a Chalkboard show, and does that matter? You know, why someone might come to you with an idea or to want to work with you without perhaps thinking, well, what sort of show are they looking for next? Do you know what I mean?
I like to think that the shows that we've made, you know, sell themselves. Like it's, you know, if we made a prison show for ITV last year in 6 different prisons. As complicated, sensitive access as you can get. And I think if we're in a conversation with BBC documentaries around sensitive access, hopefully they've seen from that show that we can deliver a quality show. And so, and I don't necessarily worry that people will say, oh, well, Chalkboard, they did this game show, but they've also done this documentary. I think as long as you've got that, TV is underpinned by your relationship with commissioners and your reputation within the channels. And if you've delivered on that show, I think you can get more commissions. And so I like to think whatever we do, we try to deliver something different or interesting. When we did Don't Ask Me, Ask Britain, it was live opinion polling the nation. No one had tried to do that really. So it was different in the entertainment space. My Wonderful Life was obviously ambitious in terms of how complex it was to make it. Our prison show for ITV last year, Britain Behind Bars, was in 6 different prisons simultaneously. No one had done that. So I think across all of our shows, I like to think that we'd try to do something a bit different. I mean, most companies are trying to do that, so that's maybe not unique, but certainly for us, I like to think that people think we try and deliver something of quality that's ambitious and different. Would be my answer.
That's great, putting a new spin on things. Okay, well, let's move over to our audience here. If anyone has any questions, please raise your hand, and then I'll suggest you unmute yourself, or those of you in visual audience, perhaps make yourself visual if you want to ask a question and you currently aren't. Does anyone have a question to kick us off? Not seeing anything so far. Does anyone want to put anything to Chalkboard? Right, I can't see any hands up at this hill. Let me just go across across to some of the other people. No. Okay. Well, I'll kick off by saying, what do you have in development now that you can talk about, and what kind of timescales might we see before you're looking for freelancers to come and join you?
I think in terms of development, I probably should only talk about the stuff that's kind of gonna happen rather than new stuff, which can always have an element of the never about it. Drama. So we're going to be doing multiple dramas at the start of next year, and so we're definitely looking for people in that, producers, directors. I'm always interested in hearing from new writers and new talent. A lot of our stuff has involved new talent and new directors, so we'll be looking for people across that, and there are opportunities there. And Channel 5 back you on opportunities for new talent. I know a lot of the channels say that, but I think Channel 5 have kind of proved it in the stuff we've done. I think in non-scripted, I mean, we're doing a quiz pilot at the minute, which if that goes to series, we might be looking for people for that. We've got obviously Mend It for Money, which we're doing as a co-pro with Storyboard. We're in the middle of production, but we might be crewing up for that if we get a recommission into the new year. We do feature docs. We've moved recently into feature docs, and we've got a couple of things there that I'm looking for really interesting feature doc directors. So we're doing our first kind of BBC feature length thing. So we'll be looking for people for that. Development. We're looking for development people in both genres, in non-scripted and unscripted. And that could be anything from a head of development, creative director, down to a development researcher or AP. So, we'd be interested in that as well. So I think there are opportunities coming up in terms of production and development, I think.
Okay, do we have any questions at this stage? Oh, Alice. I'm not sure I can.
Hi there.
Oh.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Alice.
Yeah, I was curious because I really would like to get into development, and for ideas, would you prefer some people to just have a bunch of ideas already, perhaps even have a pitch ready to go when thinking about applying for jobs or just getting in contact, or would you just prefer just a general, hi, I have some ideas, maybe we could have a meeting? What's the best approach?
Yeah, I think because I started in TV and development, and I absolutely love development. I always think when I meet with development people, because I've been in that situation myself, I kind of would like to see that you've got your if you're a development person, you should be developing whether you're in a job or not. Exploring access avenues, coming up with format ideas. And I often like to, you want to hire someone who you can have a good development chemistry with. So I think it's no bad thing. In other industries, you have a portfolio of ideas that represents you and how you think and how you write and how you design. And that, in terms of our development hires, is kind of what we look for. I think obviously some people are nervous in terms of, I'm showing you an idea, what if you run off and get it commissioned? And I can kind of completely understand that. So it is a balance. But I think, in general, I think if you are saying I'm an ideas person, I can write, you have to have something that represents that shows your ideas. And I always think that makes a difference. And I think sometimes when you meet with someone, they go, I've got loads of ideas and I really want to work in development. You need to have that next step, because a lot of people want to work in development. And I went down the same path. When I first wanted to get into development in TV, I just went in and I didn't have any ideas that represented how I thought or what I thought was interesting. And also, if you are developing access avenues, so if you come and see us and say, I've got access to this prison or this organization, that's also currency for you as an individual and as a producer, because then we would do a deal with you if you wanted to do a deal where you'd have ownership over the idea because you've already done the heavy lifting on the idea and got the access. So I think always when you're reading newspapers or, if you've got access avenues, that's currency, I think, to companies like us. So I'd say having some kind of portfolio, I would say, is a good thing.
Okay, and so just to follow up, if that's all right. So would you say it's best to already have like a pitch formed, like that you could send? Would that be the best way to go about it, or just to be like, I have an idea, I have some like talent who might be interested, or some like places that might be interested, and I just give you like a brief, like one line of the idea? What would be the best?
I think, to be being completely honest, development is such a spectrum of skills. It's ideas are important, but also it's how you represent those ideas, how you write them, how you pitch them verbally. We put a big emphasis even on design. I think design, a lot of the best development people are whizzes on Photoshop. They can design those ideas, which are as important as the words themselves. So, it depends also what level you're coming in at. We've had people who started as runners or researchers who are just kind of coming into it, and we've grown them and grown those skills, and got a fantastic researcher at the minute who's just absolutely progressing unbelievably in the whole range of skills. So we manage it based on where you're coming in. But I think, being able to write, being able to design, being able to pitch, there's only so many ideas coming around. So it's also, what is your new angle into that area, I think, is important. So I'd say if you can have something that represents all of that, that puts you in a strong position. It's not essential because you might be coming in at more of an entry level. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but
no, it did. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I have another question here asked privately on the chat. How did you develop relationships with commissioners as a new production company, and especially breaking into scripted? So how did you build on that relationship you both have with Channel 5 in the scripted area?
I think it's true of non-scripted and scripted. The best way to build relationships by commissioners is by hook or by crook, get that first commission. And then you build that relationship by making a show for a commissioner. Our best relationships now with channels have been forged in the fire of the stress of making a show and all the pressures that brings. And so I think for a new company, you just want to be able to, promise and show that you can deliver the show. But until you've actually done it, that relationship is still kind of up in the air. But then once you've made it, it really forges a good relationship. And our best relationships now are commissioners I just call up all the time, or I say, I've read this, what about that? Or I just send them a quick email. It's more of a constant dialogue. I think when you first started, you go in and you sat opposite the table and you've got your big presentation and your sizzle, and it's all very nervous because you don't know them. And I think it becomes more relaxed when you make things. I remember the first time I went in to see Ben Frow at Channel 5, I'd done all these presentations and all these sizzles, and I think he ended the meeting just go, I don't want to see any presentations or sizzles, just pitch to me, tell me what am I going to tell the viewers. And so every commission is completely different in terms of those pitches, but I think the relationships we have with the commissioners now that are strongest are because we've made a show with them. I think that's the single thing that makes a difference. and it takes time. It takes a process.
Okay, thanks. There was one more that came in again on the
yeah, Robin,
chat.
hi. Sarah from Talent Manager here. I think someone was asking, I don't know whether it's actually been answered, but do you want returnable ideas for scripted, and are you happy to be approached by freelancers? Was another question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, a lot of the Channel 5 series that we've done and that we're going to be doing are limited miniseries. So they're always designed like cold call to tell that story and then move on. But I think we obviously as a business are really interested in returning series and returning series concepts. So we have, I mean, at any one time, we've got a range of ideas on our slate that are our internal ideas, our ideas or scripts or relationships that have been kind of brought to us. So if you do have an idea, then we're definitely interested. And I think, you know, our interest in that is also depending on how far you progress the idea. If it's just a top line idea, we could be interested. But if you've got a full treatment, if you've got you know, a script, if you've got a writer who's involved in it, or a director or talent attached, the more you've done with that idea, you know, the better it is kind of for us. But we're engaged across a whole range of producers who've brought us their ideas. So we're definitely open to that.
I'd just like to ask a question. If you've made a pilot for something, are you interested in having a look at that?
Definitely. I mean, I guess it depends on if you personally own the rights to the pilot, then absolutely. Yeah, no, I think the more you can have to represent the idea, the better, I think, because, you know, you're showing the commissioners what it looks like. So yeah, if you've got rights to a pilot that you've made, then I definitely would be interested. You know, to give you an idea, we did someone had made a pilot. We did a show ages ago called Battle Cats. It was like a crazy idea. It was like a Ninja Warrior for cats with like sports commentary and all this stuff. And they'd made a pilot of it over in Canada, and I got a friend over there, and we took it to Channel 4 and saying, this is absolutely crazy, but we love it, you know. And they commissioned it. It was a short series in the end, so it wasn't a kind of huge thing, but that was on the back of somebody having done a pilot, bringing it to us, and then we managed to leverage a commission. So yeah, I think we're definitely open for anything, really.
One thing we haven't touched on, which is the focus of the industry at the moment, is diversity of output, representation on screen and off screen. How well do you think Chalkboard is doing there currently? Which areas could you be doing better? What sort of, you know, measures or initiatives do you have in place to strengthen that?
I think like a lot of companies, we feel like we're doing a lot, but we're not doing enough, you know, I think is the honest answer. And we're certainly trying to really focus on that and ask ourselves questions in terms of that. You know, we do ensure that we've got diversity on screen and off screen. And I think we've got a great track record in delivering that. But I know myself and Michael feel like, you know, we need to ask ourselves a question if we're doing enough. I think as well, the important thing for us is I think economic diversity is a big thing for us. You know, obviously we're big kind of champions of nations and regions programming. You know, we've got Storyboard up in Scotland. We've made shows in Manchester. You know, we hire people from all over the country. I think one of the biggest things of diversity is being able to live in a town wherever you are in the UK and work in TV, because I think that's been as big a barrier as anything to, you know, to really driving diversity. I think in terms of what we've got planned, so we have a relationship with the Met Film School. So we take kind of interns from Met Film School. So our researcher at the minute was a fantastic kind of placement from there. From next January, we're going to be announcing where an internship, a paid internship, where it's specifically taking an intern from a diverse background, and that can be in scripted and it can be in non-scripted, and that's going to be a paid placement for probably a 4 to 6 week period. But a lot of times when we've done these placements, it's ended up with us hiring longer term. And I think we've got a good history of that. So I think we're putting in together things like that. I think we have to keep trying to do more and listening and understanding that we haven't been doing enough. But I think we're trying to, like the rest of the industry, focus on that.
And Ben Farrell was talking recently as part of Viacom CBS, Channel 5's owner, this idea of no diversity, no commission. In the conversations you have with Channel 5 and stuff like that, how does that come up and how do you demonstrate that to them? Is it simply a case of here's everyone working on this production and we can talk about that mix, or are there things that they ask specifically of you?
Yeah, they've got that diversity quotas and diversity. It doesn't need them to kind of talk to us directly, but they do. So we know in terms of when we're hiring on any kind of genre program that diversity is the first conversation that we have, and that has been reflected in what Channel 5 have said to us. So I think diversity is always on the agenda, well, whatever the channel, and I think that's as it should be.
Okay. One more question in on the chat, again on the scripted side. Given you are looking for new talent and Channel 5 is looking to broaden the mix of drama on TV, do you take submissions or have conversations with writers who aren't currently represented, sort of sound out their ideas, or do you sort of prefer the sort of more industry standard of coming in through an agent?
No, I hate the whole you have to have an agent. I think we take ideas from anyone. Cold Call was a brand new writer. We worked with them and him. We work with all sorts. I think it's such a barrier, this having an agent thing. I think what's more important is that you've got something that represents how you write or how you direct, or you've got a short film. I feel like with Channel 5, we've got the relationship where Channel 5 aren't going to be asking me, do they have an agent? They'll say, what have they got that represents them as a writer or as a director? And if I can show them something that they go, wow, then that's the best way in. So I think, we obviously work with a lot of talent who are represented. We've got great relationships with agents, but for me, that's not a barrier. I want Clapperboard and Chalkboard to be a place where actually, if you're talented and you've got, the key is having something that represents you and your writing and your ideas. That's a key thing, because that's the thing that gets you to the front of the queue and allows us to sell in with the channels. So having an agent, great if you do, but if you don't, I absolutely would embrace whoever comes to us.
The supplementary question with that, it was about, in terms of hiring freelancers, are script editors or script consultants on that list?
I
think so, yeah, absolutely. Michael, do you want? I know
you're script editors, absolutely. Yeah, I think we've got quite a lot coming up for Chalkboard next year. That actually a script editor is on the list of somebody that we're going to be needing to bring in to kind of look after everything that we're doing next year. Well, not everything, but certainly quite a bit of it. So yeah, it's definitely on the list.
Fantastic. So all areas of business are open there. Okay, well, I'm going to pass you over to Sarah, who can kind of wrap up this session and explain what happens next. But thanks to both of you for your answers and giving us a flavour of Chalkboard.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for your time.
Hi, everyone. Yes, thank you for me too, and thanks, Robin. That was really excellent and informative. We have actually got one very last sneaky question from Katie. Have you got any summer opportunities for uni students to gain experience?
Summer opportunities, so next summer, is she asking? Put her on and we'll do the interview now. Yeah, we're always, we take placements and paid work experience, and we've got this internship coming up in January. But if they're interested in coming to work with us, either on a production or coming to do work experience, we do it all the time. So yeah, whether that's in the summer or in January with this scheme, absolutely. I think we should probably give the email address aware, info@chalkboardtv.com. If you want to email me direct, it's mike@chalkboardtv.com. But yeah, just ask them to get in touch, and yeah, absolutely, we're always interested in hearing from people and trying to help them get experience.
And then there's one last one. Do your hires need to be self-shooting?
No.
Okay, brilliant. Fantastic. Other people are asking how we contact you, but you've covered that. That's brilliant. And I will try and put your email address in the chat.